welcome to the channel and welcome to this review slash reveal of Codex Space Marines, the second codex that they've dropped for Warhammer 40k 8th edition. A couple of things before we get going. First, thank you to Games Workshop for sending this through to me and other bloggers and YouTubers out there, so we can get our beady little eyes on it and tell you guys in the wider community what we found and what we think about it. And the second thing is, it's a very big book. So for people who are new to this hobby, I'm not going to go through every single unit in here and break it all down. I'm going to be looking primarily at the new things, at the new changes, and skimming over them as quickly as I can to make this a short, concise video so you guys get a good feel of what it's like now going forward. So I hope to keep this short and concise, mainly touching on the new things, but it's me, so it might be an hour long, so we'll get going and see how we do. The other thing that you need to note is that this codex now comes with supplements. They also sent me the White Scar supplement and the Ultramarine supplement. I'm assuming that all the first founding chapters and potentially the Crimson Fists as well are going to get their own supplements as well. Now, the way it works with the supplements are, if you have a first founding chapter like Raven Guard, Ultramarines, White Scars, you need the Codex Space Marine book because in it are all your points values and all your main units. And if you're playing those first founding chapters like White Scars and Ultramarines, if you want to, you can only get the main Space Marine book and use the warlord traits and the relics and the stratagems that are in the main book. What you get in the supplements are, well, what you get in the Ultramarine supplement is Rubuti Guilliman himself. He's not in the main rule book. And you get all the Ultramarines characters in the Ultramarines rule book. There's about 10 of them, like Primaris Chaplain and Tigerius and Cassius, people like that. And what you get in the White Scars book is Primaris Khan and Khan on a bike. It says Khan on a bike, not Khan on Moondraken. You get 2 units. So you get about 10 units in the Ultramarines book and 2 units in the White Scars book. You get lots and lots and lots of narrative, about 50 plus pages of narrative in here. But you also get codex specific relics, warlord traits and stratagems. And what it says in the supplements is you can use these warlord traits, relics and stratagems if you want to. So basically, if you're playing Ultramarines, you get everything in the main rulebook and you can stick with the main rulebook. But if you want Gulliman, you're going to need to get the supplement. And you'll also get a choice from Librarius disciplines in the Ultramarines book, a choice of 2 more pages of stratagems and a choice of relics from the main Ultramarines supplement. Basically, if you're playing with a Space Marine chapter that has a supplement, you can choose to get the supplement and choose to play with all the options in the supplement if you want to. Right, let's dive back into Codex Space Marines, the main codex. The first thing you'll notice is none of the named characters are in here. They'll be in the supplements. So there's no Khan, there's no Kayan Strike, there's no Vulcan Heston. There's none of the named characters in here. These guys will be coming out in their supplements. There's no Neophytes or Crusaders for you Black Templar fans in this main rulebook. Everything in here is generic and unnamed. That makes it smaller and easier to deal with. It makes it more manageable. The second thing to note is all the new units from the Vanguard supplement are in here, such as the Infiltrator Squad, the Phobos pattern Tactical Marines, not Tactical Marines, Primaris Marines. Again, you won't need to carry around your Vanguard supplement anymore, smaller, easier to deal with. So there's 2 new troops options in here, for example. There's the Infiltrator Squad from the Vanguard supplement. There's also the new Incurser Squad. And then all the other new models are in here as well, such as the Impulsor and Repulsor Executioner, which are both versions of the Repulsor dedicated transport. The Repulsor Executioner is heavy. The Impulsor is a dedicated transport. You've got the new Invictus suit in here, the Walker. That seems to have divided the community. I think it's really cool. The guy inside the Redemptor suit that is walking along. I like it. I think it looks cool. Okay, and the other things to note is after skimming through the book, there doesn't seem to be very many changes to the datasheets or hardly any changes to the datasheets. I didn't dive into it in great detail because this turned up a day before the pre-release thing, so I've got to get this video done really quickly and I'm going to work tonight, so I didn't have much chance to really dive into it, but it seems like most of the data sheets are still the same. For example, Terminators still clomping away and get the minuses to hit with heavy weapons. Dreadnoughts still get the minuses to hit if they move and fire with heavy weapons. Their data sheets don't seem to have changed. The Suppressor Squad, bouncy dudes jumping around with air accelerator autocannons. I hoped to have seen a different version of the gun, so you had accelerator autocannons and another thing to pick from, but they've still only got accelerator autocannons. Vindicators are still heavy D6, and if you move, it's hitting on 4s, so Vindicators are still out. The only change that I really could find was the Eliminator Squad. These are the units of 3 that you get, the Sniper Space Marines, that have executioner rounds, and they can fire these sniper rounds down into the... They still only come in units of 3. You can't take them in units of 6 or 9. So an Eliminator Squad is a unit of 3, but they've got a new weapon called the Instigator Bolt Carbine. No, sorry, the Las Fusel, got that wrong. It's called the Las Fusel, which is 36-inch range, strength 8, -3, 3 damage, 1 shot. So you're going to have 3 strength 8, -3, 3 damage shots coming out of this Eliminator Squad, and they've got concealed positions and they've got camo cloaks. But with the Las Fusel, they're 33 points a model, so that's 99 points to fire out 3 strength 8, -3, 3 damage shot things, and there's better things to spend your money on, such as a Dreadnought. Because the points cost of a Dreadnoughts are still the same with a twin las and a missile launcher. Still be 120 points, and these guys are 99 points. Yes, these guys will have a 2-up save, but your las cannon missile launcher Dreadnought's got longer range, it's got more wounds, it's got a higher toughness, it's got chapter tactics. So I'm not sure if Eliminator Squads with las fusils will see many of them. So, data sheets. All the named characters, all the chapter specific stuff is out of the data sheets. All the new things that you can get in the Vanguard book and other releases are in this book. And all the data sheets, except for some very minor changes here and there, all the data sheets and all the rules of all your vehicles and units appear to have stayed the same. I just had another quick skim through it. I can't see any significant changes. So if you run Space Marines, you'll know what the units do, which is a good thing because you'll know what the units do, but it's also a bad thing because there was a couple of changes that we were really crying out for as the community, and those changes have not come into effect, not in the main data sheets, but there are some significant changes to Space Marines in general. And that significant change is called the Angels of Death rule. Now, everything in this book, minus servitors, gets Angels of Death. So beforehand, chapter tactics used to affect only infantry and dreadnoughts, but now it affects vehicles as well. It affects land speeders, attack bikes, all that sort of shenanigans. Everything gets the Angels of Death rule. And the Angels of Death rule is broken down into a couple of more rules. And they are, and they shall know no fear, bolted discipline, shock assault, and combat doctrines. So if you've got the Angels of Death rule, you've got access to and they shall know no fear, bolted discipline, shock assault, and combat doctrines. And they shall know no fear has changed a little bit. When taking a morale test for this unit, you can re-roll the dice. Beforehand, you had to take it if you failed, but now you can just re-roll it. So basically, if on those occasions where you want to fail for a unit to break out of combat, you can choose to re-roll the dice. That's and they shall know no fear. Re-roll morale. Bolted discipline we know about. For those that don't know about, basically anyone with a rapid fire bolt weapon, you can fire twice if you stood still, and twice if you're a Terminator, Biker, Centurion, or Dreadnought if you're moving around. So bolted discipline is good. We like bolted discipline. It makes Terminators better. Terminators needed to be better. Shock assault also makes Terminators and Tactical Marines and everyone else better. Shock assault is when this unit makes a charge move, or is charged, or performs a heroic intervention, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of this model in this unit until the end of the turn. Basically, when you're charged, or you get charged, +1 to attack. So Terminators now will have 3 attacks on the charge. Primaris Marines have 3 attacks on the charge, or when they're charged. A standard unit of 5 Primaris Space Marines, because they've got 2 attacks each and the Sergeant's got an extra 1. 5 Primaris Space Marines will have 16 attacks when they get charged or charged. If they're Reavers, they'll have 21 attacks, which is really nice. It's a lot of attacks, and it will make people think about charging even a standard tactical squad. Beforehand, a standard tactical squad of Marines would have had 5 of them, would have had 6 attacks because the sergeant gets an extra. And so you'd see cases where someone might charge in with 3 or 4 units on a unit of 5 tactical Marines, knowing that they can't kill them. 3 or 4 models, sorry. You might just throw in, oh, I've got 3 or 4 models left. I'm going to charge them into that tactical squad to tie them up, to stop them from shooting. But now that tactical squad will have 11 attacks back and might be able to munch through those Tau or those guardsmen or those weaker units that just charged a tactical Marine squad. It might make you think twice. It'll certainly make you think twice about charging a unit of 5 Primaris Marines because they'll have a lot of attacks back. And remember, your smash captains jumping in there, they're going to get an extra attack as well. And everyone with the Angels of Death discipline has shock assault, so your dreadnoughts will get +1 attack. Everyone getting a +1 attack on the charge it's a good rule. It makes Space Marines fearful, scary again in some cases. The last thing you get with Angels of Death is called combat doctrines. Combat doctrines start off with Devastator, then they move to Tactical, then they move to Assault. At the very start of the game, the Devastator doctrine is in effect, and all your heavy and grenade weapons are AP, increase the AP characteristic by -1. And then after the first turn, at the start of any battle round, you can change in battle round 2 or battle round 3 or battle round 4, whenever you want to. But at the start of a battle round, you can change it to the Tactical doctrine, and then rapid fire and assault weapons become +1 to their AP. And then you can change to the assault doctrine. So long as you've gone through the tactical doctrine first, you can't go Devastator and then assault. You have to go Devastator, tactical, assault. And then when you get to the assault doctrine, your pistol and melee weapons are an increased AP. What does this mean? It means at the very start of the game, las cannons are firing out at AP -4. And most vehicles in the game have an AP value, an armor value of 3 up. So las cannons firing across the battlefield will be hitting and wounding armor, and armor won't be getting a save unless it has an invulnerable save against it. But it also means Thunderfire cannons and Whirlwind missile launchers are AP -2 at the start of the game instead of AP -1. Now, no one brings these units along. But an AP -2 weapon instead of an AP -1 weapon firing indirectly. And the Whirlwind launcher has gone down 5 points. It's 85 points basically with the Vengeance launcher firing strength 7 AP -2 D3 damage a time. So Whirlwinds might be back at 85 points each. Assault cannons, if you're zipping up there with your Storm Talons, Storm Hawks, or your basically the Storm Ravens zipping around all over the place, the assault cannons on these guns are heavy. So suddenly you're firing out twin assault cannons 12 times at strength 6 AP -2 instead of AP -1, because the Devastator doctrine affects everything with the Angels of Death keyword. Everything in this book has got it. And the Devastator doctrine is a +1 to your AP with your heavy guns. So assault cannons at AP -2, las cannons at AP -4. It makes the first turn punch shooting assault of the first turn strike of the Space Marines more crippling, which it should be. And then after you've lost a number of your heavy guns because they've been taken out by the enemy, or when your tactical Marines, your Primaris Marines are suddenly on foot, then you can switch to the tactical doctrine at the start of your turn, and your rapid fire weapons and assault weapons become +1 AP. So normal tactical Marines, we wanted their bolt guns to go to AP -1. Well, now their bolt guns are AP -1. And with the bolter discipline into effect, you can have a unit of just cheap tactical Marines stood at the back at 24-inch range, firing twice with the bolter discipline at AP -1. And tactical Marines went down by 1 point. Instead of 13 points, they're now 12. So tactical Marines at AP -1, but more importantly, the real kicker is Primaris Marines at AP -2. So you're going to have Primaris Marines standing still, firing 30-inch range twice at AP -2 with the tactical doctrine in effect. And that makes Primaris Marines very scary. Combine that with a captain or lieutenant for that extra hit or re-rolling, those re-rolling abilities that makes them very scary. And combine that with a 2-point stratagem called Rapid Fire. Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Select an intercessor squad from your army. Until the end of that phase, bolt rifles that in that unit become rapid fire too. So suddenly for 2 command points, you're firing so a unit of 10 will be chucking out 40 shots if it stood still at 30-inch range at AP -2 with the tactical doctrine in effect. The other thing, the tactical doctrine is also it's a -1 AP, again an improved AP on assault weapons. So you've got your jumpy dudes jumping around all over the place, the intercessors with their assault bolt weaponry, they become AP -2 as well. Storm of Fire Warlord trait is in here. That makes them even more juicy. And then the Assault Doctrine. If you want to bring your Reavers and your Terminators, the Assault Doctrine makes sense as well. Because then when you get in Assault, Reavers with their combat blades will suddenly be hitting AP -1 when they're assaulting. All your guys with their melee weapons, with their fists and their pistols will be hitting at AP -1. It means Terminators, when they go charging in there, they're going to get +1 to their attack. So they're all going to have 3 attacks each. And those Thunder Hammers, those Power Fists will be coming in at AP -4 instead of AP -3. So potentially you could be doing good work. Will Terminators be making a resurgence on the battlefield with Bolter Discipline and with the Shock Assault rule and with the Assault Doctrine? Even the Tactical Doctrine on Terminators, for example. A unit of 5 Terminators, all with Storm Bolters, that's 20 shots at AP -1 all the time. That's it's very interesting. I'd like to see if they make a big comeback because everyone likes Terminators. They're an iconic unit. I think what we will see though is we'll see a lot more Primaris Space Marines because bolt rifles will become scary. So that's the main change to Space Marines. Bolter Discipline and Shock Assault make them better with bolt weapons and better in close combat when they charge or are charged. And Combat Doctrines make those weapons better when the Devastator Tactical or Assault Doctrine is in effect. So they will be able to chew through enemies a bit more effectively than they can do right now. The other main change is chapter tactics. Now every unit in this book except for servitors gets access to chapter tactics now, not just dreadnoughts and infantry units. And the chapter tactics have changed as well. What you've got to do is make sure everything in the specific detachment is from the same chapter. So you can't mix and match in the same detachment. What you could do is you could bring one detachment of Ultramarines, say, and then one detachment, a heavy detachment, the one with all the heavy slots in it, of another chapter, of Raven Guard, for example. You could have your Ultramarines pushing up the field in one detachment and Raven Guard Shadow Masters hanging out the back with all Devastators and Whirlwinds and things like that, raining death upon the enemy from afar, so long as everything in one detachment is from the same chapter. The chapter tactics have been tweaked, except for Ultramarines. Ultramarines were already good, stays the same. Imperial Fists. When resolving an attack made for a ranged weapon by a model with this tactic, the target does not receive the benefit of cover. And if that attack was made with a bolt weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 causes 1 additional hit. So no cover, 6s to hit, auto become 2 hits. And it doesn't seem great, but when you tie that into Bolter Discipline, if you tie that in with the Tactical Doctrine, that could be doing a lot of work. White Scars, Lightning Assault. Units with this tactic can charge in the turn they advance or fell back. Now that's pretty big because White Scars players like bringing bikes. Bikes moving, advancing and charging in the turn when they, in the same turn. And so you can move, advance and charge, and then you can fall back and still charge again. And with Bolter Discipline on bikes, remember they're always firing twice, and with the Tactical Discipline in effect, meaning their bolt weapons on their bikes are AP -1, that's quite significant as well. Also, biker models with this tactic do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons or for advancing and firing assault weapons, so you can bring your multi-melter attack bikes and still move them around all over the place and still be hitting on 3s instead of hitting on 4s. And also remember, White Scars have access to their own supplement, so as well as all the stratagems and relics in here, they have access to the stratagems and relics in the White Scar supplement as well. Raven Guard. When resolving an attack with a ranged weapon against a unit with this tactic, by a model that's more than 12 inches away, that unit is treated as having the benefit of cover. And if that unit is not a vehicle and is entirely on or within a terrain feature, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So all Raven Guard more than 12 inches away from the enemy get cover, and if they're not vehicles, they're going to be -1 to hit. I guess if they'd have given it to vehicles as well, it would be really broken, a la Eldar, Alatok, or whatever it is. So yeah, the Eldar still get their -1, -2, -3 to hit their flyers, but Raven Guard don't. Not that I'm bitter, I love Eldar. Salamanders forged in battle. When a unit with this tactic fires Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight with, you can reroll a single hit and you can reroll a single wound from the unit. So each time you get 3 command point rerolls. Every time it's called upon to shoot or fight or Overwatch, reroll a hit, reroll a wound. When resolving an attack made with a weapon that has an armor penetration characteristic of -1 against a salamander, that AP value is considered 0. So salamanders are a bit more resilient to AP -1 weaponry. You don't, they negate the AP -1. They count it as AP 0. Iron Hands is the same but better. They still basically don't lose a wound on a 6-up, but it will apply to vehicles now as well. So when you're taking damage, roll a dice, and on the 6 you ignore that damage. They also Overwatch on a 5-6. And vehicles that have damage, that have a damage table, are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what row to use on that damage table. So suddenly Iron Hands vehicles became a lot more resilient. Crimson Fists, no matter the odds. When resolving an attack made by a model with this tactic against a unit that contains at least 5 more models than that model's unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So when Crimson Fists are outnumbered by at least 5 models, they're going to be hitting on 2s in most cases. For the purposes of this tactic, a vehicle model with this tactic counts as 5 models. In addition, when resolving an attack made by a bolt weapon by a model with this tactic, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. So that's the same as the Imperial Fists one, because Crimson Fists are a second founding chapter of the Imperial Fists. So both the Imperial Fists and the Crimson Fists, 6s explode with bolt weaponry. The Imperial Fists ignore cover, and Crimson Fists hit on 2s, essentially if they're outnumbered by more than 5 models. Ultramarines being able to fall back and shoot at -1 to hit is still probably the key tactic there, particularly as they get it to vehicles now. So there's no danger of an Ultramarines Land Raider getting swarmed by stuff. Even a Redeemer Land Raider can get swarmed, it can fall back, and it can still fire those Flame Storm auto hitting flamer weapons. Its Predators and other stuff can get assaulted, and it can fall back and still fire now. So Ultramarines are probably the big winners in the chapter tactics game. Raven Guard are always good, and counting vehicles as if they're in cover, that's good. You'll see a lot of Raven Guard. But I think White Scar's Lightning Assault might be interesting. The ability to fall back and still charge, or advance and still charge with biker squads, because bolt discipline is now a thing and the tactical combat doctrine is now a thing. So I'm sure there'll be some people out there trying the White Scars out to see if they can do what it says on the tin. Can White Scars make bikes great again? Will bikes be good again? I don't know. I mean, Typhoon missile launcher land speeders are now 87 points. That's a land speeder with the 2-shot missile launcher and a heavy bolter on it. 87 points. Now, the reason why people didn't bring them is because they couldn't move and fire those heavy weapons without the modifier. But White Scars can move and fire those heavy weapons without the modifier. So 87 points, you've got this fast moving thing in the backfield, pumping out shots, always hitting on 3s, and it's cheap. 87 points. With their bike zipping around, White Scars. I think, interesting. You've got to remember as well, with the Devastator doctrine in effect, that 2-shot missile launcher is -3 AP in turn 1. That heavy bolter is a -2 AP strength 5 heavy bolter. Okay, that's the generic chapter tactics for the named chapters. Then you have Successor Chapter Tactics. This is a new thing in Codex Space Marines. Well, it isn't a new thing. We last saw it in 4th edition when you had Divergent and Convergent Space Marine chapters. So they're bringing back something from 4th edition. However, back in 4th edition, when you picked your chapter tactic, you actually picked some negatives with it as well. This has just got bonuses to it. There's 19 in here, but one of them is Inheritors of the Primarch. So basically, if you bring your chapter and it isn't painted like Ultramarines, but you want to field it as Ultramarines, then you pick the Inheritors of the Primarch Successor Chapter. And what that means is you then pick Ultramarines. Inheritors of the Primarch Chapter signifies that your chapter sticks really, really, really closely to its founding chapter. Essentially, they emulate them in all regards. So you can have a chapter painted any colour scheme you want and pick the chapter tactics of Ultramarines, Salamanders, Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, whatever you want to. You can pick one of them because they're Inheritors of the chapter. That's the only one you pick, and that's it. If you don't want to be Inheritors of the chapter, then you pick 2 of the Successor Chapter Tactics, and there is 18 in here to pick from, and you can pick any 2 you like. Do you guys want me to go through all 18 Successor Chapter Tactics? I guess I should. Let's go through all 18 of them very, very quickly, and then you can think about and replay this section as many times as you want and think about which 2 you would like to marry together. Bolter Fusillade. When resolving an attack made with a bolt weapon by a model with this tactic, re-roll hit rolls of 1. Born Heroes. Characters with this tactic can perform a heroic intervention if they're within 6 instead of within 3. Duelists. When resolving an attack made by a melee weapon by a model with this tactic against an infantry or biker unit, and a modified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and you don't need to roll to wound. You can't select the Whirlwind of Range tactic with this tactic. Fearsome Aspect. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics of enemy units while they're within 3 inches of any unit from your army. Hungry for Battle. When a unit with this tactic advances or makes a charge move, add 1 to the advance roll or charge roll. Indomitable. When a morale test is taken for this unit, no more than 1 model can flee. Knowledge is Power. When a psychic or deny the witch test is taken for a psycho model with this tactic, re-roll any or all the dice rolls of 1. Long Range Marksman. Add 3 inches to the range characteristic of range weapons made by models with this tactic. So you're talking about bolt rifles firing out 33 inches there. That's interesting. Master Artisans. When a unit with this tactic fires Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight, you can re-roll a single hit roll and re-roll a single wound roll. That's from the Salamanders thing. So basically, free command point re-rolls whenever you're choosing whenever any unit is chosen to shoot, fight, or attack. Preferred enemy. Select a faction keyword: Tyranids, Eldari, Orc, Heretic Astartes, Necrons, or Tau. And when resolving an attack made by a melee weapon, only a melee weapon by a model with this tactic against a unit with that faction keyword, in the turn in which that model made a charge move, was charged or performed a heroic intervention, you can re-roll the hit roll. So in your meta, if you mainly fight Necrons or mainly fight Orc or mainly fight Heretics, then pick this one, because whenever you charge or get charged, you're going to be re-rolling the hit roll. I would have liked to have seen Preferred Enemy also having the faction Imperium. I know these are Space Marines, but there are many Space Marines out there. Minotaur springs to mind, which should have Preferred Enemy Imperium, because they fight the Imperium a lot, because they're considered heretic. Rapid Assault. Models with this tactic do not suffer the penalty for advancing and firing assault weapons. Scions of the Forge. Models with this tactic that have a damage table are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purposes to determine what row to use on that damage table. Stalwart. When resolving an attack made by a unit with this tactic, an unmodified wound roll of 1 or 2 always fails, irrespective of any of the abilities that the weapon or the model making that attack may have had. So, for example, when las cannons and missile launchers or strength 8, strength 9 stuff hit your troops and they're 2s to wound, If they roll any 2s to wound, then they're not going to be wounding. It just doesn't do a wound. Stealthy. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against this unit, that's more than 12 inches away, the unit is treated as having the benefit of a cover save. Stoic. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models with this tactic. Tactical withdrawal. Units with this tactic can charge in the turn in which they fell back. Warded. When a model with this tactic would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound only, roll a dice, and on a 5-up, that wound is not lost. Whirlwind of range. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon by a model with this tactic in a turn in which that model unit made a charge or was charged, and a modified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. And you can't select this tactic if you've already selected the duelist's tactic. And those are the successor chapter tactics. That's all 18 of them, including Inheritors of the Primarch. Don't know which combos to put together there. No idea at this stage which ones the 13th will adopt. So I'm going to need to dig through it. As our many Space Marine players out there, they're going to need to dig through it and figure out which 2 tactics work best together when representing their chapter, or whether they just want to be Inheritors of the Primarch and follow another chapter. Right, we're on to Warlord traits. There's 2 banks of Warlord traits here, and the Space Marine Warlord traits and the Vanguard Warlord traits. Now, the Space Marine Warlord traits are the same as previous. Angels of Death has been changed to Fear Made Manifest, but essentially you have got Angel of Death, Imperium Sword, Iron Resolve, Champion of Humanity, Storm of Fire, and Rites of War. The same ones that you had in the previous codex. The only change is Imperium Sword has got better. Beforehand they added 1 to their attacks characteristic for your Warlord, and now they add 1 to their strength and attacks characteristics when they charge or are charged. And remember, as well as adding 1 to your strength and attacks characteristics when they charge or are charged, you're going to be adding 1 because of shock assault anyway. So a vanilla jump captain with this Warlord trait will have 6 attacks when they charge and +1 to their strength, but you probably don't want to give them Imperium Sword. You probably don't want to make your jump captain your Warlord because they die, don't they? They go flying up there, they smash stuff, and then they die because they're a little bit exposed. But you could do it for the lols. There's 6 Warlord traits for Phobos pattern characters. The Phobos pattern character doesn't have to bring the Vanguard Warlord traits. You can choose your standard Space Marine Warlord traits or choose the Vanguard Warlord traits. And the Vanguard Warlord traits are the same from the Vanguard supplement. So essentially what we've got here is 12 Warlord traits, which are the same. I just tweaked a couple of wordings here or there to make them clearer. They should tweak the wording, but the Warlord traits are the same Warlord traits that we saw before. Now, the specific chapter Warlord traits for Ultramarine Salamanders, Imperial Fist, White Scars, etc. are the same as before, but better. So where they're the same, they're the same. The Ultramarines, for example, still farms command points on a 5-up, but Salamanders, for example, previously, Salamanders had Anvil of Strength, add 1 to his strength characteristics. Now he adds 2 to his strength characteristics. Imperial Fists was anyone within 6 inches of your Warlord add 1s to their saving throw. Now they add 2 to their saving throw. The White Scars 1, every time he charges a unit on a 4-up, it did a mortal wound. Now on a 2-up, it does a mortal wound. The Raven Guard one was you can't fire Overwatch at the Warlord. You still can't fire Overwatch at the Warlord. So the chapter-specific Warlord traits are either the same or a little bit tweaked, so they're a little bit improved. Stratagems. Finally on to the stratagems. There are 4 pages of stratagems, which is good. What's even better for those Space Marine players out there is all these 4 pages of stratagems are not chapter-specific stratagems. Everyone can use them. In the previous book, there was a chunk that you couldn't use. If you want your Ultramarine specific stratagems, go to the Ultramarine supplement. If you want your White Scar specific stratagems, go to those supplements. And the Ultramarines have 2 more pages. The White Scars have 2 more pages. So essentially, all Space Marines now have 4 pages of stratagems to play around with. But Ultramarines and the ones with the supplements have 6 pages of stratagems to play around with, which will be a lot to keep track of. But you'll be able to pick out the ones that you like to use that really help to make your army sing. Now, in these stratagems, the really good ones that we really liked from before are still here before. So, for example, we've got For 3 command points, orbital bombardment, it's back, yay, and it still works exactly the same, yay, awesome, because I know everyone really liked orbital bombardment, so they can continue to use it again, which is epic. But the other things in here that we liked are still here. Hellfire shells are still here, armor of contempt, Spec scan, only in death does duty end, honor the chapter, wisdom of the ancients. All of those good stratagems that people actually used. Orbital bombardment, bit of sarcasm there. All of those good stratagems that everyone ever used are still in here. Relics of the chapter. Take another chapter. Take another relic, for example. So they're good. The good ones are still here. They haven't moved them out. Well done, GW. And they still cost the same points as before. They haven't been nerfed. Let's go through some of the new ones. Suppression fire. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a whirlwind or thunderfire cannon model from your army that has not moved this turn is chosen to shoot with. You can choose that model to shoot with an additional time that phase, but when it does, it can only shoot with weapons that target units that are not visible to the bearer. Cost 2 command points. Who brings whirlwinds or thunderfires? No one. But with the new Devastator doctrine, so their stuff is coming in at AP -2 instead of AP -1. Suppression fire, we might see it. Chapter Master still here. Death to traitors. After this strategy, use this stratagem in the fight phase when Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when you resolve an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in that unit against a Heretic Astartes unit on a modified hit roll of a 6, you can make 1 additional attack. So it costs a command point to give Loyalist Marines death to the False Emperor against Heretic Astartes Marines. Sort of death to the False Emperor, you know what I mean. Duty Eternal for 1 command point. Use the stratagem when a Dreadnought model from your army is chosen as the target for an attack. Until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made against that model, half the damage inflicted rounding up. That one is boss. 1 command point, half the damage coming in at your Dreadnought, rounding up. Veteran Intercessors. Use this stratagem before the battle. Select an Intercessor squad from your army that contains at least 5 models for 1 command point, or 1 Intercessor squad from your army that contains 6 or more models for 2 command points. Add 1 to the attacks and leadership characteristics of models in that unit, and each Intercessor squad can only be selected for the stratagem once per battle. 2 command points, Bolt Storm. Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Select 1 Intercessor squad from your army. Until the end of that phase, all auto bolt rifles that models in that unit are equipped with gain the following ability. When resolving an attack made by this weapon against a target that is within half range, do not make a hit roll. It automatically scores a hit. Right. Let's think about this one for a second. It costs 2 command points, and the half range of an auto bolt rifle is 12 inches, and they fire 3 times. So if you've got a unit of 10 intercessors firing 3 times, that's 30 automatic hits at 12 inches. And if the tactical doctrine is in effect, your AP will be -1 for 2 command points. Talk about a horde killer. There's a Hunter Slayer missile, which a repulsor can fire at a vehicle, monster, and potentially do D3 mortal wounds. Gravitic amplification. This is interesting. For 1 command point, when resolving an attack made with a grav cannon and grav amp model by the unit. So you're looking at Centurions firing grav cannons and grav amps. You can re-roll the wound roll and re-roll the damage roll for 1 command point. Masterful Marksmanship is still here for Stern Guard veterans. Rapid Fire we talked about previously for 2 command points. Basically, you become Rapid Fire 2 for Intercessor squads. We have Hammer of Wrath. When a jump pack unit makes a charge, roll a dice for every model, and on a 5 up, each of those models does a mortal wound to the enemy. For 1 command point, Big Guns Never Tire. Select an Adeptus Astartes vehicle that is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of the phase, that unit does not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. So Vindicators can now move and still hit on 3s, but no one is going to bring them D6 shots. 1 command point, Fury of the First. Use this stratagem in any phase. Select a Terminator unit from your army until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made by a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. If people bring Terminators, we're going to see this a lot. Their Stormbolters hitting on 2s is crazy with Bolt Discipline and the tactical doctrine in effect. but also power fists, hitting on 3s. Target sighted costs 3 command points. You can pick an intercessor squad with stalker pattern bolt rifles, and for 3 command points you can target characters, and on 6s to wound it does mortal wounds in addition. For 1 command point, steady advance. Basically you can move your Adeptus Astartes infantry unit, and when you're chosen to shoot with them, when you choose to shoot with them, bolted discipline is applied as if that unit remains stationary. So you don't have to stand still for bolted discipline. You can move 1 unit and still fire that unit, get the benefits of bolted discipline. 2 command point, skilled riders. Pick a biker unit or a land speeder unit. If it moves for 2 command points, it gets a 4-up invulnerable save against ranged weapons. If it advances, it gets a 3-up invulnerable save against ranged weapons. Suddenly zipping through your land speeders to one side. Remember, if you're advancing, you're not shooting. But a 3-up invulnerable save, that's a lot of repositioning there. Even a 4-up invulnerable save. Moving a unit from A to B, firing lots and lots and lots of shots and still getting that 4-up invuln. That's interesting. It's only 2 command points. 1 command point, Hero of the Chapter. Select a character model from your army that's not your warlord and determine a warlord trait for it. And it's not regarded as your warlord, it just gets your warlord trait. So you can give that smash captain who's not your warlord that warlord trait for an extra strength and extra attack. Only costs a command point. I like it. I might be doing that. Give one of the guys the Imperium sword, +1 strength, +1 attack, and he's getting +1 attack on the charge anyway with shock assault. Hero of the Chapter. Turn one of your guys into a hero. I like it. Transhuman Physiology. 2 command points. Select something that's not a vehicle or a servitor. Until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made against that unit, an unmodified wound roll of a 1, 2, or 3 always fails. Unmodified 1, 2, or 3, irrespective of any abilities that the weapon or the model making that attack may have. So if you've got a unit of infantry, a unit of guys on foot, and you know they're about to get hit by some big guns, for 2 command points, you can burn this stratagem, and on 1, 2, 3, those wound rolls will always fail. Vengeance of the Machine Spirit for 2 command points means you can blow up vehicles. For 1 command point, tactical flexibility. Use at the start of your movement phase. Select any number of Adeptus Astartes units that have at least 10 models in them and combat squad them then and there into 5-man units. For 1 command point, adaptive strategy. At the start of the battle round, if there are any character models from your army on the battlefield, so they have to be on the battlefield, you can immediately change the combat doctrine. And for 1 command point, Gene Wrought Might. When a Primaris infantry unit from your army is chosen to fight with until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon, and a modified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds don't make the wound roll. So Primaris infantry fighting away, 6s to hit, auto wound. As I said, there's a chunk of stratagems in there that are recycled from the previous codex, and there's 2 or 3 that I missed out because they're not very good. But that's basically the chunk of the stratagems. Now let's talk about the psychic powers. They're pretty much the same as the warlord traits. Basically, you've got the Libraris discipline or the obscuration discipline, and you've got to be a Phobos guy to know the obscuration discipline, but he can pick the Libraris discipline if he wants to. And the psychic powers, like the warlord traits, are relatively the same, but minus a few tweaks here or there. For example, we've got Veilatine, Might of Heroes, Psychic Scourge, Fury of the Ancients, and Psychic Fortress. And they've only been tweaked a little bit or have remained the same. So Null Zone used to be an 8 to cast, now it's a 7 to cast. And everything within 6 inches of the Librarian doesn't have an invulnerable save. But the remaining psychic powers are the same. Their wording has just been cleared up a bit. The same with the obscuration discipline. Their wording has just been cleared up a bit. So no real change to the psychic powers. There might be a couple of tweaks in here that are missing, but it looks like it's the same to me. The new psychic powers, which are quite interesting, are the one in the Ultramarines and the White Scars supplements, which I'm not covering in this review. But there is one in the Ultramarines book, which is you pass the psychic test and gain a command point, which is quite interesting. Relics. There's 2 pages of relics. They're all generic, no specific chapter relics in here. And we have the Armor Indomitus, Shield Eternal, Standard of the Emperor Ascendant, Teeth of Terror, Primarch's Wrath, Burning Blade to start off with. And they've all been tweaked a little bit. So the standard of the Emperor Ascendant was the one that everyone brought, and it used to give you +1. Now it doesn't give you +1 to get back up again. Instead, you just add 3 inches to the range of the model with the Astartes banner. When taking morale tests, friendly units within 9 inches of the model don't need to roll a dice, and enemy units subtract 1 from their leadership within 9 inches of the model. So the standard of the Emperor's Ascendant, instead of units getting back up or models getting back up on a 3-up, now they get back up on a 4-up. But it's a 9-inch range instead of a 6-inch range, so it's taken a bit of a nerf. The Shield Eternal is still a 3-up invulnerable save, but you don't half the damage rounding up. Now it's a 3-up invulnerable save, and you ignore wounds or mortal wounds on a 5-up. You basically get disgustingly resilient. So that one's taken a little bit of a nerf as well. The Burning Blade is strength +3 and 2 damage instead of strength +2 and 1 damage. That's gone up. The Primaris Wrath and the Teeth of Terror are the same. Then we have the new relics, Purgatoris, the Reliquary of Gathalamor, the Bellicose Bolt Rifle, Lament, Ghostweave Cloak, Tome of Malcador, Benediction of Fury, the Honor Vehement, and the Vox Esperatum. 3 of them are better guns, but I do like the Benediction of Fury. It's a Chaplain one. This is a better Crozius, so it's a damage 3 Crozius, strength +2, -2 AP, 3 damage Crozius. I can see me bringing that on Chaplain Snow, and on modified wound rolls of 6 in, do mortal wounds in addition, which is quite nice. The Reliquary of Gathalamor. When a psychic test is taken for an enemy model within 18 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the total, and if they fail that psychic test, roll a dice, and on a 4-up they suffer D3 mortal wounds. The Ghostweave Cloak can only be given to a Phobos model with a camo cloak, and when resolving an attack model against a model with this relic, subtract 1 from the wound roll. Tome of Malcador, I think that's the same. Psych has no additional psychic power. The Honor Vehement. Chapter units are treated as not having the Shock Assault ability while they're within 6 inches of a model with your army with this relic. Instead, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of models while they're within 6 inches of a model from your army with this relic. So they're just going to be getting add 1 to their attacks. They're just going to get that extra attack all the time, regardless of where they charged or were charged, if they're within 6 inches of them. And Vox Esperatum, Primaris model only. If a model has this relic, add 3 inches to the range of its aura abilities, e.g. Rites of Battle. It does not increase the range of psychic powers or litanies of battle that are aura abilities. And that suddenly reminded me that I heard that chaplains have now litanies of battle. And checking the datasheet, they do. They have 2 litanies of battle. They have the Litany of Hate, which is the one that they know now, which is reroll all hit rolls in combat. And they know the Litany of Hate and 1 Litany of Battle at the start of the battle round. This model can recite 1 litany it knows that has not already been recited by a friendly model that battle round. And roll a dice. On a 3-up, the recited litany is inspiring and takes effect. So Litanies of Hate, rerolling a hit, you now need to roll a 3-up to get that in effect, but you can also pick 1 Litany of Battle. Let's go through the 6 litanies of battle. Litany of Faith. If this litany is inspiring, then when a model in a friendly chapter unit within 6 inches of this model would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6, and on a 5-up that wound is not lost. So 6-inch range, 12-inch bubble of Feel No Pain. Catechism of Fire. If this litany is inspiring, select 1 friendly unit within 6 inches of this model. When resolving an attack with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit against the closest visible enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll. That's against the closest visible enemy unit. Exhortation of Rage. If the litany is inspiring, select 1 friendly unit within 6 inches of the model. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon by a model in that unit, on an unmodified hit roll of 6, you can make 1 additional attack against the same unit using the same weapon. Mantra of Strength. If this litany is inspiring, add 1 to the model's attacks and strength characteristic and add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons this model is equipped with. I guess it does The chaplain does it to itself then. So +1 attack, strength, and damage to the chaplain himself. Recitation of Vocus. If this litany is inspiring, select one friendly unit within 6 inches of the chaplain. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So suddenly +1 to the hit rolls. That's nice. I like it. Canticle of Hate. If this litany is inspiring, add 2 to the charge rolls made for friendly chapter units whilst they're within 6 inches of this model. In addition, when a friendly chapter unit makes a pile-in or consolidate move within 6 inches of this model, that unit can move up to an additional 3 inches. That's very interesting. You could deep strike your chaplain in. You could deep strike your 10 Terminators in. You can bing off your Canticle of Hate, and then it's +2 to their charge. And then when they go charging in, they've got Shock Assault. So they've all got extra attacks with their Power Fists or Thunder Hammers. No, you couldn't do that. I'm just checking the rule. You do the litanies at the start of the battle round. So at the start of the battle round, the chaplain and the Terminators would be off the table. I guess it would have been too good. Just too good. That's pretty much it for the book. Need to do points values. So I can't find any points values increases in this book. I can find many that have gone down. I say many, I'm going to say a quarter to a third have gone down. And when I say gone down, they've only gone down by a couple of points. Oh no, I tell a lie. There was one that went up. The repulsor has gone up 30 points. So let's run through some of the points changes. Tactical Marines gone down 1 to 12, but Devastators have stayed the same at 13 points a pop. Librarians down 8, and a Libby with jump packs down 4 to 108. The repulsor, as mentioned, is at 215 now without weapons. Rhino's gone down 65 or 67 if you chuck the Storm Bolter on it. Apothecary's only 30 now. Reavers are down 2 points to 16. Terminators are the same. Dreads are the same. Landspeeders, we mentioned, are cheaper. The Storm Talon is down 10 points to 100. And the Predator is 85 now. That's down 5 points. The Vindicator is still at 125 and it still sucks. And the Whirlwind is 65 without the gun on it, but 85 with a Vengeance launcher. Flamestorm Cannon's down 1 point. Flamestorm Gauntlet's down 1 point. Grav Gun 10 points from 12. Grav Cannon and Grav Amp 20 points from 28. Guilliman, which is not in this book, he's 350 points instead of 400 points. All these points that I'm reading off are from Chapter Approved 2018 changes. Guilliman's down 350 points, but Guilliman changed. He now allows you to re-roll all hit rolls, not just failed hit rolls, but he only allows you to re-roll wound rolls of 1. So they've made him better at hitting, re-rolling all hit rolls, modified or unmodified, but only giving them the lieutenant ability, re-rolling wound rolls of 1, 50 points cheaper. Apart from that, his data sheet is the same, and as I said, he's in the Ultramarines thing. Yeah, looking through the points, there are a number of nerfs, a number of tweaks, a number of things in here, but no significant changes except for that repulsor that went up 30 points. You're looking at 2 or 3 points here, there, or everywhere. And going through it, it started making my brain melt because some of the random stuff that you wouldn't expect to go down 1 point or 2 points has gone down 1 point or 2 points. So what I'm saying is, when you're writing your lists for match play games, when you're coming up with your points, be very careful what you're doing, because there'll be a couple of surprises here or there where some of the things have gone down a little bit. Long story short, Space Marine players, Space Marine Army should be 5, 6, 7% cheaper than they were before, maybe, if you're bringing tactical, maybe. But all the weapons, the main weapons, haven't changed that much. So if you're going with Primaris and Dreadnoughts and just the usual stock and trade that you see these days, then probably the points values are exactly the same as they were before. I did have a fight yesterday, and I did have a look through this book beforehand to see if any of the change, apart from the change to Tactical Marines, which is 1 point, it would have cost my opponent exactly the same number of points for his army that he brought. Anyway, that's the book. I'm gonna stop because my brain is melting and it's getting very, very long. Long story short, Codex Space Marines now have Angels of Death rule. They now have combat doctrines, which changes things, and they now have the ability to make successor chapters and ability to make Space Marines in the image that you would like to make Space Marines. The Warlord traits and relics, the Warlord traits and Librarian abilities, psychic powers, are relatively the same, with only a few minor tweaks. The relics have changed, the stratagems have changed. So the army will function differently on the battlefield. With combat doctrines, with bolted discipline, with shock assault, it's going to be more of a punch when you get hit by Space Marines. And with stratagems being more useful, because beforehand their stratagems were generally pants, with more useful stratagems in there, they're definitely going to have a bit more of a punch. They are going to function the same, but a bit more effectively. There's no radical changes in here to how it will feel going up against Space Marines if you go up against them, except that it might hurt a little bit more. Yeah, I think I'll wrap it up. Thank you to Games Workshop one more time for sending it through. I'm sure there's many other YouTubers out there doing a better job of reviewing this, but we had such a short time to get this done. I'm now going to shower and eat and get everything and go to work. I don't know when we're going to edit this. Hopefully it'll be up by Saturday. Anyway, thanks for listening. Happy wargaming.